So, can you hear my voice? So, can you hear my voice or not? Okay, let me hear it. I don't have phone with myself, so it's okay. So, first day, not a third day. I can go there and I maybe look pretty good and good lighting. Yeah, boy. So, let's start the debate. So, let's start with.
Go on, I'm listening.
Okay, so let's start the debate which I just told you about.
Right, let's get into it then. You're arguing democracy's inefficiency is its fatal flaw. So, give me your strongest example, a real case where democratic slowness actually caused serious harm, not just annoyance. What's the one that convinced you?
The first argument would be in India. There are several possibilities. There are several states in India. In 1990s, until it was completely desperate. India was very desperate for an that they did. We didn't have any foreign, what would say, culture, not culture, foreign reserve. We had almost 2 weeks of foreign reserve. Until then we didn't even think about opening our economy. So yeah, the democracy, which is populated by different cultures and different ideas, really misplaces its burden on political system. So that's the real harm. If we had opened our society before like 1980s or 1970s, we would have achieved very good result, but not with this forced open economy.
That's a fair historical point, but I push back on the mechanism that licensed large and closed economy of the 70s and 80s wasn't democracy being slow. It was a specific ideological choice by Nehru and Indira Gandhi's governments, a socialist economic model that plenty of non-democratic states also embraced. China itself didn't open up until 1978 under one-party rule, and even then it took years to really bite. So, isn't your example really an argument against bad policy choices, not against democracy itself?
So let me give another example. When I think about India, so when I want, if we have to pass any judgmental, like very harsh um, tone policy, last year, 2 years ago, there was something called Farmer Reforms Bill. At that time, it had very good policies in that bill, but due to misinformation and I would say PR from government, they had to scrap it due to constant protest in northern India, while western and southern India was in supporting it. And in this, you can see that democracy may be not that good idea.
That's a sharper example, actually. The farm laws, where a genuinely reform minded policy got rolled back under street pressure. But I complicated. Was that really misinformation? Or was it entrenched interest? Punjab and Haryana farmers who benefit hugely from the minimum support price and government mandi system and stood to lose real income. Doesn't that make it less a story about democracy being inefficient and more about democracy actually working exactly as designed, organised interests defending themselves against a policy that threatened them?
Here I would stand against it because Punjab and Haryana the are not the only states which are heavily farm relied. There are also other states, and where the mandis and middlemen have captured all the profits. Even when even with giving minimum wage, it is not that good. If we hit if we if it had been open market, they would have gotten better prices. But due to some part of uh, what say what bank politics, they have to scrap it because election was near at that time. So it's also that question that democracy is like a system which need to be which come into light, but it goes in cycles, and in India that cycles never ends. That they have to win every elections, otherwise they will not get enough in parliament, in upper house and lower house to pass any bill, and they would lose any confidence in the government. They would lose the confidence of people which they have taken. Like it's a vicious cycle.
Okay, so now you're really onto the deeper point, election cycles distorting long term policy. That's a stronger critique than pure inefficiency. And it's actually the classic argument economists like it too, short termism baked into democratic incentives. But here's my counter: authoritarian regimes have their own vicious cycle. They don't need elections, but they desperately need to maintain the appearance of stability and control, which is why China hides bad economic data and Russia can't admit battlefield losses. So, isn't the real question not does democracy have a vicious cycle, but which vicious cycle is more correctable? Because voters,
I know democracy is not the perfect cycle, but democracy plus capitalism has created many big hole in today's society. So there is also that when politician lobby with merchant lobby come together, they try to engage in very bad faith. So there is also that.
that's the crony capitalism critique, and it's real. But notice, it's actually an argument against a specific combination: weak institutions plus money in politics, not against democracy as a concept. Singapore and the Nordic countries are democracies with far less lobbying capture than, say, the US or India. So the variable seems to be campaign finance rules and institutional strength, not democracy itself. Doesn't that suggest your actual target should be corporate lobbying and election financing rules rather than democracy as a system?
When I think about it, it is true, but not every country is every country has enough power to get PR. And right now, all the PR is handled by this lobbyist. Second would be, even though you are talking about Singapore and Nordic countries, they have enough. Singapore is a financial hub, and why are they financial hub? Because they are um, what say tax haven of the this is the one of the tax haven in the world, while Nordic country has a rich mineral history. When it comes to country like India, which does not have anything which is going to get exported, while it has 1.5 billion people, the PR game is very important. And also people need something to eat, and if they do not have something to eat, they need to something to think. that they are good, they are in better place. And in this state, democracy plays like those who gives much more hope tends to win than those who give the hope, not hope, but uh, the method to bake a bread. So that's also the right thing to think.
That's actually a really interesting pivot. You're saying scale and resource scarcity change the calculus, that a country of 1.5 billion people with limited exportable resources creates a different democratic dynamic than tiny, wealthy city states. But I'd flip it. Isn't that an argument for democracy being necessary precisely because you have that scale and diversity? Wouldn't an authoritarian regime managing 1.5 billion hungry people without any electoral pressure value be even more prone to Mao style catastrophe? What's your actual alternative system? Because democracy isn't efficient only lands if you've got something better to replace it.
Talking about the democracy, I'll take the stance that needed, but some form of really hard structure is also needed because due to its repeatable cycle, like it's a repeatable cycle, like election cycle needs to be either longer or there should be a shadow government in parallel with the representative from local governments. Even though in India there is a two, like four channels are going on. There is a state assembly, there is a parliament, and both have two upper house and lower house, and both are uh, get a, both in both the members are selected from the public. But here's the catch: every time election comes, there goes heavy rallies, getting in PRs, and all the nominal, even the hardworking candidates get crushed due to national, what was the word? Mm, national image. The local committee gets crushed, and also there is a, like, in India, there is swamp, like very hard bureaucratic. No, I will say bureaucratic after that. Okay, that's my point.
Okay, so you've actually landed somewhere interesting, not scrap democracy, but fixed structural incentive, longer terms, insulating local governance from national wave elections. So a good local MLA doesn't get swept out just because of a national move. That's basically the argument for things like fixed longer terms or staggered elections, which some federal systems already try. So let me ask you directly, if you could redesign India's system tomorrow, would you extend term lengths or would you decouple state and national elections so local performance actually gets judged on its own merits?
I would decouple, first of all, decouple state and national election, because people tend to believe that national issues are bigger, always bigger than local issues. But I tend to disagree with the, as basically Bertie goes against it. Second, I want to make that term should be longer, like 7 or 8 years, but there should be some type of calculation, not a calculation, but what would I say? What was the word? Accountability. Yes, there should be some accountability in check. Even though term would be 7 years, for 3.5 year, there would be accountability by local NGOs, not funded by anyone else, but local NGOs or local, uh, uh, the, what would say, by the people. The statistics, as technology has growing up, we can do it very efficiently without anyone's interference, but yeah, it can be influenced by others, so it should be in semi governmental state. and people should know what has done, what has not done, what was promised, what has not been promised, and accordingly the seats in parliament get increased or decreased. And I am also against the first passing the poll uh, election, because even if 20%, there are like 20% people are voting for one person, and 19% for every other, that 1% gap, like, it's not the good idea for that. And I would also increase the representation in the parliament. Like, there are right now 543 seats in parliament. I would increase it by 10 or 20 folds, as I'll I will decrease the size of every constituency, and increase the number of seats. Yes, also I'll decrease the payment of each parliament member, and parliament member or assembly member of state, because it's not uh, that important to give them salary, but it's important to give them salary, but not as like, they are they'll not be treated like royalty. They'll be maybe village head. It would be like that. And this list would improve the better representation of people in the center or in state, which could improve the efficiency of the government. Also, there would be a parallel, I said, a parallel shadow government by the second runner-up, the runner-ups, so that they can get accountable. If first one get some like case, or get delayed, what would I say, get arrested, get detained for any illegal activities, they need to get eliminated from system. And from the new member would be the second one who has gotten the highest number of votes after the first one, so they can get E only if the margin is more than margin is not less than is not more than 5%, so that will reduce the cost of election. Then also I like to improve the bureaucracy, because in India the bureaucracy has been very bad, and it need to be swamped. It need to be released, because it's like they are the permanent nobility in the center in the system. Like, mm, we can replace all the ministers, all the parties, but we cannot replace government employees. So there needs to be some accountability rather than just employing them. So if there goes something very big, the court should must act accordingly fast, and revise its course. Like, there was a case of IAS, fraud IAS, who did not pass uh, IAS, and got in by fake. Why am I saying it? Oh, so bureaucracy should be, I'll say, improved by making it more accountable. And first and foremost, and the most important thing should be people which are eligible for voting should be introduced with basic understanding of how India works, because in India, like, more than half of people do not know how India does work, how democracy works, how bureaucracy works, how any complaints go through anything, how vote works, how MLA works. So first of all, they need to be educated. Even though Gen Z is getting hang of it, but still there is very long way to go for this. So first would be education, and it need to be priority for this.
That's a genuinely ambitious blueprint, but a few pieces worry me. The runner up succession idea is risky. It creates a massive incentive to fabricate legal cases against winners just to install the second place finisher. You'd be handing the courts a political weapon. And the voter literacy requirement is the one that history warns hardest against. Literacy tests were exactly the tool used in the American South to disenfranchise black voters for a century. Who decides what counts as understanding how India works? And doesn't that gatekeeping just become another lever for whoever holds power?
Yeah, that is also a question, but I'm not telling that we should strip off every person to give every person who should what need to be educated in MBA, but they should know how to do anything in the country of any descent. Like even a person who does not know how to read should be able to get complaint, should be able to do complaint against anyone in government, in bureaucracy, and he should know his rights. He should know how to behave. He should know how to go in judiciary. So, but it doesn't mean that we should strip of him any power of giving vote. It's not the idea. The idea is every voter should know what they are getting uh, due to they are voting in favor of democracy.
Fair, that's a softer version. Civic education is a right people can access, not a gatekeeper test for voting eligibility. That's a real distinction, and it dodges my disenfranchisement worry. But practically, who delivers that education, government run civics programs, risk becoming propaganda for whoever's in power? So, would you trust the state to teach citizens how India works? Or does that need to sit with some independent body?
I would say that there should be independent body because as people get educated more, they should know the everyday is changing laws and policies, which cannot be done by our policymakers. Or I think they are very behind it because they do not have very good PR team. Or we know the education systems. This failure of understanding that poor needs to be literally aware. Poor needs to be aware of everything they needs to have, but people tends to forget about it. Politician tends to forget about it. So independent, I think NGO or local government, local non-governmental, like someone in every city or every every city who is like very hyper who thinks that they need to do this, come together in center stage and they try to do it by improving, making some type of what would I say, website, some type of organization, like going to every village and making campaign about it. Yeah.
That's actually landed you somewhere coherent, decentralised civic education through independent local bodies rather than state or party control. We've covered a lot of ground here. Decoupling elections, longer terms, with accountability checks, proportional representation, bureaucratic reform, and civic literacy. That's a genuinely structured reform agenda rather than just democracy level. Should we wrap this segment here, or is there one more angle on democracy you want to hit before we move to a different topic?
Okay, let's wrap it here. Let's move to some different topic.
Good round, actually, and turned into a real reform blueprint by the end there. What's next on the docket?
No, I don't know. Suggest me something.
How about AI regulation? Should government actually be able to slow down AI development?
I don't
Or is
think.
it into your
Wait a minute.
go on? I'm listening.
I wonder. mm,
Take your time, no rush.
Yeah, I'm doing something. After 2 minutes, can you repeat my question?
Sure, take your 2 minutes. I'll hold the thought and pick it right back up when you're ready.
Okay, so let's start.
Right. So my suggestion was AI regulation. Should governments be allowed to slow down AI development, or is that basically just protecting big incumbents like?
No, I don't think a development should be slowed down, but it should be regulated enough. Like the unhealthy trend of it's just like using a high number of tokens without any compensation or like without any regulation would be catastrophic for anyone, even with even for AI companies themselves. So there should be some regulation. There should be something limitation but our policymakers are not that eager to learn what is AI and what it can do. So I don't think it can be done in near future, because it is uh, getting more benefits to government in law in short term, for job. What was the name? Job. It's getting job creation, improvement of local data, improvement of tech, and so and so forth. So they are not going to do anything about it right now, as they are only going to think about for next election and their results. So regulation are not in place and will not be for some time. They are even going to help the AI companies to improve their AI data center. So there is that.
So you're making a cynical but plausible point. Governments won't regulate because short term political incentives, job creation headlines, tax revenue from data centers actually favor letting AI companies run wild. But I challenge the premise that regulation requires policymakers understanding AI deeply. The EU passed the AI Act without every MEP being a machine learning expert. They just needed to define harm categories and risk tiers. Isn't the real bottleneck lobbying money from AI companies, not policymaker ignorance?
It is only European Union which had done this, not entire world. First world would be India, and then not India, like US and China, which are which are at forefront of AI race right now. They are not going to regulate it in any time soon now. And if we are talking about harms, every harms can be redirected in specific lines of any policy, like money laundering. Anyone can do it. They just have to pretend it is not that, and by the literature, by the meaning of literature or policy loopholes, they just bypass it. So I don't think there is any possibilities that they are doing enough.
So you're saying loopholes make regulation basically theatre anyway, which is a fairly strong claim. But doesn't that argument prove too much? By that logic, every regulation ever written is pointless, since financial regulation, environmental law, all of it gets loopholed too. Yet we don't say banking regulation is worthless after 2008. We say enforcement and rewriting needs to keep pace. So, isn't the real question not can regulation be perfect, but is imperfect, evolving regulation better than none? And if so, why let the US and China off the hook just because they're behind the EU?
The regulation is not a problem. The strict discipline and implementation of regulation is the problem. You talked about the 2008 financial crisis, but right now it is also going to happen again, because it's like money trap is going on for like very long time. But I'll skip that point. The problem is, in today's world, due to its AI lobbying and people's, what would I say, problem, AI regulation, I would say, even if EU has passed it, how many countries are going to implement in even EU? There are countries which are in opposed to it, and they are going to delay in their own country. So that's that. And in the rest of the world, the situation is getting worse day by day, as US and China are going in very aggressively in AI field. Like there was some cyber attack. No, they are going to do it very aggressively to win the AI race, as they all thought, they all thinking that it will remain in their control, but who knows in future. But for regulation, they are getting way ahead of any regulator can keep up. So it's also there.
That's actually the strongest version of your argument regulation lags innovation by design. Laws take years to draft, while models double in capability every few months. That's a real structural mismatch, not just cynicism. But then, doesn't that argue for a completely different kind of regulation? Not detailed rules about specific tech code, but binding principles and kill switches, like liability frameworks that hold companies responsible after harm occurs, rather than trying to predict and rules ahead of time? Should responsibility shift to accountability after the fact, since prevention seems structurally impossible?
I don't think anything of that can be done because as we are now in AI race, they are like spending, they are burning, not spending, they are burning money like hell. So they don't think about anything else. They want to just go ahead and make stronger models without anything else. So for any responsibilities, they'll just throw money around and try to be as minimal as possible by policymakers try to lobby it, and they will say that it's for greater good, and they will publish it because they have PR, they have news, they have policymakers. So it's not that simple to get responsibility out of companies before or after accountability or before or after any incident occur. So there is also that.
So essentially, you're landing on technocore capture. The same companies burning billions to build these models have enough money and PR to neutralize any accountability mechanism before or after the fact. That's a pretty bleak picture, though. Doesn't it suggest the only real check left is competition between the AI labs themselves or public backlash, rather than any government tool? Or do you think there's genuinely nothing that can rein this in? Is your final position that this just plays out unregulated until something breaks badly enough to force a response?
I'm going with that last argument that it will play out like this until something big happens, like Terminator. Or I don't think Terminator could be happen, but we can't take a chance. I think something big like independent AI virus, something like that occurs and try to uh, shut down the internet all over the world, or something like big massive hacking occurs due to uh, server AI getting out of control, something like that.
So your prediction is essentially reactive, not proactive. Catastrophe first, regulation second. Likely some kind of AI driven security disaster or infrastructure attack that finally forces governments to act, rather than any preventive framework working in time. That's a genuinely dark note to end on, but it's a coherent through line with your democracy argument earlier, actually. Systems only fix themselves after the crisis hits, not before. Should we call it there for this segment? Or you want to push into what a post crisis AI regulation regime might actually look like?
Wait 2 minutes because my laptop is on like last 2 or 3%. I'll charge it and I'll get it on charge and come back.
No worries at all. Go plug it in. I'll be right here when you're back.
Okay, I'm back with charger on. Okay, let's go.
Good, you're safe now. So, do you want to dig into what a post crisis AI regulation regime might actually look like, or wrap this segment here?
Let's go to another topic.
All right, what's next?
I don't know. You suggest?
How about universal basic income? Does automation and AI job displacement make it inevitable? Or is it a lazy solution that ignores the dignity and meaning work actually gives people?
I would say it's basically trampling on human dignity, as a human was evolved after very like what would I say? Uh, what was the word? I forgot about it. There was a word about it that human civilization got it on their legs, bipedal legs. It had sacrificed it away from very early on, since Homo sapiens, not Homo sapiens sapiens, but from Homo sapiens. Like every generation has sacrificed it to become very intelligent, to think, to communicate, to able to speak. Everything has done, and now we are just going to let it. Like the only thing between humans and animals are the ability to communication, ability to memorize things, ability to pass knowledge to next generation, and now and ability to think. And now we are going to lose that ability as AI is going ahead. So universal basic income would be basic, like it will give some relief to lower income area. But when it comes to people who are working very hard, who are very productive, it's like a slap to them, because they are not going to produce anything, and they just don't feel like earning with this meager sum of money, or like being on mercy on someone else. So it's not the rightful idea to give a universal basic income, because it basically reinforces the thinking that even if I do not work, there will be something which I can do. Uh, there will be something which I'll get in return, and after some time, it will become calcified, and they just lost their touch in the world, and they stop being human. They'll just live like a cattle.
That's a strong dignity through labour argument, but I'd push you, isn't there real historical precedent against it? Aristocrats and landed gentry for centuries didn't work in the labour sense, and many still pursued art, science, philosophy, invention, dignity. Didn't require wage labour for them, it required purpose. So maybe the actual failure isn't UBI itself, but that we haven't built a culture yet that gives people meaning outside of a paycheck. Isn't that a solvable cultural problem rather than a proof that UBI destroys humanity?
I think UBI would destroy it, because in medieval times, people had, even if they did not have a purpose, there was a country they have to safeguard. But right now, those countries' boundaries are getting blurred day by day, and in the name of a purpose, the creativity which we do not indulge, like which get for free in masses, it gets dull day by day. And we think it's people will get creative, and but for it will get we will get creative for some sort of little time. After that, all will get bored, and just die, or like they'll lose the touch of uh, humanity. For this, I will give you someone. What was there was experiment done in 1950s or around that time, that it was done on mice. that they were given full unlimited what would say unlimited um, uh, in mice colony. They were given unlimited food and water, and they very good environment of living for like two or 300 mice colony, and in which um, for first two or three generation it increased the number of population, but after it didn't go at the population peak, which as a scientist has thought, because after some time people not the mice started to become erratic and started to behave non like they stopped reproducing. They stopped behaving like mice. They stopped in engaging in thoughts, in sexual activity, in group activities, and which eventually caused them to die down in like four or five generations. I am concerned about that. Similar situation might happen to humans if we give universal basal income, which basically means unlimited food and supply without doing anything. So it's also there. Then there would be like there will purpose of life would be meaningless, is if we give someone no purpose of life would be meaningless, and there would be a dissatisfaction towards the people receiving UBL, because other people who are contributing to doing something great and they are getting less due to UBS, and people who are doing nothing and getting UBS, and there other people who are doing work will get like, why should I also do it? I also don't want to do it because other person is getting for free and I'm doing for something. So there's also that argument.
That's the famous Calhoun Universe 25 mouse experiment. But it's worth flagging. Scientists have pushed back hard on applying that directly to humans. Mice have no culture, no meaning making capacity, no art or religion or love to fall back on. So their behavioural claims might just reflect its specific pathology, not a universal law about intelligent, purpose seeking creatures. Also, doesn't Norway's oil fund citizen dividends or Finland's actual UBI pilot data complicate your theory? Since study of recipients showed increased well-being and even more job-seeking activity, not the collapse you're predicting. So is your fear more philosophical intuition than something the actual evidence backs up?
What I'm saying is the example you are giving is good, but it's only on small number of people with greater education and greater government, what's say bureaucracy and governmental support. If we apply it to everyone else, every other colonies, every other culture, I don't think it would be applied to everyone similarly. There would be some rebellion against it because it is just a basic uh, understanding that they are not people who would do anything, and there would be mass rebellion because the person who is working is not getting satisfied easily, satisfied income due to its most of paycheck goes to what's say UBS, and the person who is getting it is getting very satisfied, and it will get reinforced that he should not work. So there is also that, and people of those countries are basically those are Nordic countries which normally is full of ice, and they have very what would I say? I don't know argue how to argue against it, so I'll just leave it that those two are great, but other countries would not accept it. People might not accept it, and basic human dignity would get trampled under it.
Honest of you to admit that. And actually, the point about scale and cultural transferability is fair. Finland's pilot was small and homogenous. We genuinely don't have good evidence for what happens with UBI at the scale of India or the US. That's a good place to leave it, actually. You've shifted from UBI destroys dignity universally to the evidence we have is too limited to generalize, which is a more honest, defensible position. Should we wrap the whole session here, or is there one more topic we want to hit before we close out?
Okay, so let's wrap it here. I want to ask you how was my English and how should I improve it?
Fair question, honestly. Your English carried complex ideas well, real strength there. But there were recurring slips, verb tense switching mid sentence, filler pauses like, what would I say, that broke flow, and some words searching for precise terms like accountability or trampling. My suggestion practice speaking without pausing to find the perfect word. Just use a simpler synonym and keep momentum. Fluency matters more than precision when speaking live.
Okay, and I also want to know that if I want to remember whole set of words, like I want to remember Sivstando Stotram by speaking it. How should I do it? Should I only speak it around or stop it when I get wrong or just go on?
Good question. Honestly, this comes down to methodology. Don't stop mid flow when you make a mistake that breaks the memory chain and trains hesitation. Instead, speak the whole set through once, note where you stumble, then go back and specifically drill just those weak points a few times before doing another full run. That's basically how spaced repetition and fluency training work together.
Okay, so let's wrap it for today, and I'll go on live for learning that Sivstando Stotram. Okay.
Sounds good. Luck with the good stream, Yash. Goodbye for now.
जडाडवीकलज्जलप्रवाहपावितस्थलिगलीविलम्बलम्बितं भुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकां डमड्डमड्डमट्टमट्निनादवद्दवर्वयं निनादमर्वयं चकार चन्द्रताण्डवतनोतु नः शिवः शिवम् जटाकटाहस्तं प्रमभ्रमं निलिम्पनिर्झरी विराजमानमूर्धनि दगद्दगद्दगज्ज्वलल्लाटपट्टपावके किशोरचन्द्रशेखरैरतिप्रतिक्षणं मम धराधरेन्द्रनन्दिनी विलासबन्धुबन्धुर स्फुरद्दिगन्तसन्तति प्रमोदमानमानसे कृपाकटाक्षधोरणे निरुद्धदुर्धरापदे क्वचित् दिगम्बरे मनोविनोदमेतु वस्तुनि जटाभुजङ्गपिङ्गल स्फुरत्फणामणिप्रभा कदम्बकुङ्कुमद्रव प्रलिप्तदिग्वधूमुखे मदान् मदान्धसिन्धु मदान्धसिन्धुरस्फुरत् त्वगुत्तरीयमेरुरे मनोविनोदमद्भुतं बिभर्तभूतभर्तरि सहस्रलोच सहस्रलोचनप्रभृत शेषलेखशेखरं प्रसूनधूलिधोरणि विधूसरा त्रिपीठभू भुजङ्गराजमालया निबद्धचाटजूटकः श्रिये चिराय जायतां चकोरबन्धुशेखरः ललाट 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 ललाटचत्वर ज्वलद्धनञ्जय स्फुलिङ्गभा निपित्तपञ्चसायकं नमन्निलिम्पनायकं सुधामूय सुधामुख सुधामयूखलेखया विराजमानशेखरं महाकपालिसम्पदे जटालमस्तु नः करालबालपट्टिका धगद्धगद्धगज्ज्वलद्धनञ्जय न कृतप्रचण्ड पंचसायके पंच धनञ्जय धनञ्जय धराधरेन्द्रनन्दिनी कुचाग्रचित्रपत्रकप्रकल्पनैकशिल्पिनी त्रिलोचने रतिर्मम नवीनमेघमण्डली निरुद्धदुर्धरस्फुरत्कुहु कुहूनिः कुहूनिशि कुहूनिशीथिनितन कुहूनिशीथिनितमः प्रबन्धबद्धकन्धर निलिज्जं निलि निलिम्पनिर्झरिधरस्तनोतु कृतिसिन्धुरकलनिदाबन्धुर श्रियं जगद्धुरन्धरा प्रफुल्लनीलपङ्कज प्रपञ्च कालिमप्रभा वलम्बिकाण्ठकन्दली रुचिप्रबन्धकन्धरं स्मरच्छिदं पुरच्छिदं भवच्छिदं मुखच्छिदं गजच्छिदं गजच्छिदम् अधं गजच्छिद गजच्छिद गजच्छिदा गजच्छिदा स्मरच्छिदं पुरच्छिदं भवच्छिदं मखच्छिदं गजच्छिदा गजच्छिदान्धका गजच्छिदाङ्गच्छिदमन्तकच्छिदे भजे अखर्वसर्वमङ्गल कलाकदम्बरञ्जरी रसप्रवाहमाधुरी विजृम्भमाण प्रणामध्रुवतं स्मरान्तकं पुरान्तकं भवान्तकं मखान्तकं च गजान्तकं कान्तकान्तकं तमन्तकारतक भजे जयत Let's end this in 1 minute. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Oh yeah, I can go and gali shairi hi hi in Hindi hi hi. वो आए घर में हमारे खुदा की कुदरत है कभी हम उनको कभी अपने घर को देखते हैं सत्ता नमामि पार्वतीपति नमामि। जडोदविगलज्जलप्रवाहपावितस्थले कलैवलम्बलम्बिताम्बुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकां डमड्डमड्डमड्डमड्निनादवद्दमर्वयं चकार चण्डताण्डवत्तनोतु नः शिवः शिवम्। जटाकटाहसं भ्रमभ्रमन्निलिम्पनिर्झरी विलोलविच्चिवल्लरी विराजमानमूर्धनि धगद्धगद्धगज्ज्वलल्ललाटपट्टपावके किशोरचन्द्रशेखरे शेखरे रतिप्रतिक्षणं मम धराधरेन्द्रनन्दिनी विलासबन्धुबन्धुरः स्फुरद्दिगन्तसन्तती प्रमोदमानमानसे कृपाकटाक्षधोरणी निरुद्धदुर्धरापदे क्वचिद्दिगम्बरे मनोविनोदमेतुवस्तुनि जटाभुजङ्गपिङ्गलस्फुरत्फणामणिप्रभा कदम्बकुङ्कुमद्रवप्रलिप्तदिग्वधूमुखे मदान्धसिन्धुरस्फुरत्तगुत्तिरीयमेरुरे मनोविनोदमद्भुतं बिभर्तु भूतभर्तरि सहस्रलोचनप्रभृतशेषलेखशेखर प्रसूलधूरिधोरणि विदूसरान्ध्रपीठभुजङ्गराजमालया निबद्धजाटजूटकश्रिये चिराय राजायता चकोरबन्धुशेखर ललाटचत्वरज्ज्वल धनञ्जय ललाटचत्वरज्ज्वलधनञ्जय ललाटचत्वरज्ज्वलधनञ्जय स्फुलिङ्गभा निपित्तपञ्चसायकं नमन्निलिम्पनायकं ललाटचत्वरज्ज्वलं ज्वल ज्वल ज्वलद्धनञ्जय स्फुलिङ्गभा निपित्तपञ्चसायकं नमन्निलिम्पनायकं सुधा मयूखलेखया विराजमानशेखर महाकपालि सम्पदे शिरोजटालमस्तु नः करालफालपट्टिका धगद्धगद्धगज्ज्वल धनञ्जयाहूतिहूतप्रचण्ड धनञ्जयाहूतिहूत प्रचण्डपञ्चसायके धराधरेन्द्रनन्दिनी कुचाग्रचित्तपत्रक प्रकल्पनेकशिल्पिनी त्रिलोचने रतिर्ममा नवीनमेघमण्डली निरुद्धदुर्धरस्फुरत्कहुनिशीथिनीतम प्रबन्धबद्धकन्धर निलिम्पनिर्झरीधरस्तनो निर्झरीधरस्तनोतु कुत्तिसिन्धुर कलानिधानबन्धुर श्रिय जगद्धुरन्धर प्रफुल्लनीलपङ्कजप्रपञ्चकालिमप्रभावलम्बीरुचिप्रबद्धकन्धर स्मरच्छिदं पुरच्छिदं भवच्छिदं मखच्छिदं गजच्छिदाद्धकात् गजच्छिदा स्मरच्छिदं पुरच्छिदं भवच्छिदं मखच्छिदं गजच्छिद अन्धकच्छिदं गजच्छिदं तमन्तकच्छिदं भजे अखर्वसर्वमङ्गला कला कदम्बमर्जरी रसप्रवाहमाधुरी विजु विजुभ्रमा मधुव्रतं स्मरान्तकं पुरान्तकं भवान्तकं मखान्तकं गजान्तकान्तकान्तकं तमन्तकान्तकं तमन्तकान्तकं भज जय जयत्व जयत्वद्र ज- जय जयत्वदभ्र विभ्रम भ्रमद्भ्रम भ्रमद्भू भुजङ्गं भुजङ्गमस्वस जयत्वद जयत्वद्र जय जयत्वद जयत्वभ्र जयत्वद जयतत्तत विनिगर्तं विनिगर्मत् क्रमस्फुरत् करालफालभव्या करालफालहव्या वाट् धिमिन् 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 ध्वनन् मृदङ्गतुङ्गमङ्गलं ध्वनिक्रम प्रवर्तित प्रचण्डताण्डव शिव दृष्टं रत्नलोष्ठो यो सृह्य दीपक्षपक्षयो तृणारविन्दचक्षुषो प्रजामहि महेन्द्रयो समप्रकृति समप्रभृतिकदा सदाशिवं भजाम्यहम् कदा निलिम्पनिर्झरि निकुञ्जकोट कदा निलिम्पनिर्झरि निकुञ्जकोटरे वसो विमुक्तदुर्मतिः सदा शिरस्थमञ्जलिर्वहन् विलोललोचनो ललामफाललग्नकः शिवेति मन्त्रमुच्चरन् कदा सुखी भवाम्यहम् इमं हि नित्यमेव मुक्तमोत्तमस्तवं पठन् स्मरन् भुवन्नरो विशुद्धमेति सन्ततं हरे गुरोः भक्तिमाशु याति नान्यथा गतिं विमोहनं देहिनां शङ्करस्य चिन्तनम् पूजावसानसमये पूजावसान पूजावना पूजावसानसमये दशवक्त्र वक्त्र गीत विशम्भु पूजनः पठति प्रदर्शे तस्य स्थिरा लक्ष्मी सभेषु ચાલો તો હવે આપણે આપણી વાતો કરીએ. જો અત્યારે 11:52 થઈ છે એટલે હવે 5-7 મિનિટમાં વાત કરીને હું નીકળી જઈશ. પેલું તો મારે જોવાનું છે કે હું બોલું છું તો મારો નાનો નીચેલો હોઠ વધારે હાલે છે. મારું ધ્યાન એ પહેલા જાય છે. હમ. બીજું મારે શરીર ઉતારવાનું છે અને ઇંગ્લિશ મારે સુધારવાનું છે તો એ સુધારવાનું જ છે. So let's try to speak something nice. Nice essays. Is there any volume? Oh, let's again go with Claude. Now work is no. Now work as a IELTS speaking examiner and try to ask me something and I'll answer it as I speak.
Sure, happy to play examiner. Let's start with something simple to warm up. Could you tell me a little about yourself, your name, where you're from, and what you do?
I'm myself Yash Debate, and I am right now living in Surat and just completed my Bachelor of Physiotherapy. And right now I'm going to pursue my masters in UK or Canada, and that's why I'm leaving this IELTS. My personal hobbies are reading books. I'm going live on YouTube and making reels.
Lovely, thanks, Yash. A couple of small things to smooth out. It's I'm myself, Yash, not your singer. That sounded like a mix up. And physiotherapy rather than visa therapy. Also, I'm doing IELTS instead of results. Let's continue. Why did you choose physiotherapy as your field of study?
It was not my first choice of career. My first choice of career was MBBS as a doctor. But after getting repeatedly not enough marks to get in MBBS, the second choice was physiotherapy, as it is the one. It is second or third career after in India, it is more on a science-based career because after physio, after MBBS, there are homeopathy, Ayurvedic, and many more branches. But I do not want to go in that because I feel that those are pseudosciences, and physiotherapy should be is one of the branch of medicine which is good for basic human health. So I chose it.
Good, that flows well and shows clear reasoning. Just a tip say I didn't get enough marks rather than getting repetitively, and homeopathy and many other branches instead of there are homeopathy already. Next question. What do you think are the biggest challenges physiotherapists face in your country?
The first very big challenge is people do not believe in physiotherapy. First of all, second would be they just understand that physiotherapy is going for massages and simple machine treatment. No, it is not. And the third would be the pay grade. The pay grade of physiotherapists in India is very low. And fourth would be people are very eager to copy the physiotherapy exercise and they just stop doing sessions altogether after learning one or two exercise. They do not know progression but they assume that they know, and that's why they can get very uh, different result upon their situations. And final would be people still believe in local hardware who do not have degree or do not have any type of medical certification, and they do fixes like reducing bones and cracking their heads and hands. So there is also that. So these are the problems which faces I face daily on daily basis as a physiotherapist.
That's a strong, detailed answer and good real world examples. Small fixes, say people don't believe in physiotherapy rather than official app, and local healers instead of local hardware. Now, Band 7 level question. Do you think governments should regulate alternative medicine practitioners more strictly, and why?
I think government should do it because these local healers do not have certification and they just have basic knowledge of human anatomy, which may cause in future or may have caused many people irreversible damages. So regulation of them is very good point. They also need to have some basic understanding of community health, so they can provide some basic level of help. But when it comes to understand very difficult cases or complex patients, they should refer to orthopedic or more advanced doctors rather than local. They try to solve it by themselves because those healers charges very less. So it would be great for local people, basically poor people in local area, so they can get a basic access to this healthcare system. But for more complexity, they need to have very there should be some kind of system which can they use to refer to higher authorities or higher level of education, like educated people like orthopedics, neurosurgeon, or anyone else.
That's a really well developed answer. Nice balance of practical and ethical reasoning. Just what this local healers should be these local healers, and may cause in future should be may cause damage in the future. Would you like to keep going with more questions, or shall I give you overall feedback now?
Give me overall feedback and I will just complete.
You've reached your usage limit. We can talk again in about 4 hours.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Sayonara. And read, write, think.